Do you think everyone should become CFIs?
That's a tough question. I've never been asked that before. I understand like both sides of it, and let me give you both sides. One side, it's a great hour building opportunity. It's also a great learning opportunity because you learn. I've never learned so much as a CFI. Yes, there's all the fundamental stuff that you learn as a student, but like the actual practical user stuff you learn as a CFI, and just the kind of stuff that you see, you're like, wow, I never knew that, learned it.
The way I see what you just said is going through flight training myself made me learn it, and instructing made it all cement in my head. And so it's the flight instructing that cemented it.
Yeah.
Who sent you this?
That was Will, just while we were talking. The flight instructing definitely like cemented like what I understood. It solidified everything.
Solidified.
Like, I know this now. Like, as a student, you're confident in your stuff, and your stuff, but you kind of forget your stuff. Like when you're a CFI, you have to know everything from private to commercial.
Funny. Back to what you said in the beginning, when you first started instructing, you got into an airplane, you were like, holy cow, I'm like the one in charge now. I actually was listening to an interview the other day with a CFI, ex-CFI, who I think now flies like charters or something. And he was talking about, back when he started flying in his day. And he was saying that when he started, he had this, inferiority complex,
right?
However you want to think of it. Like I'm not good enough. I won't know everything.
I get it.
And he was sharing how he had a CFI tell him that he is the most experienced pilot who every one of his students have ever flown with.
Oh, wow.
So act like it. And so if you really think about it and
I've heard that before
and get into it, it's like, it's true. Every single one.
Going back to what I was saying, even though I hopped in my first instructing experience, I'm still the one that has more experience in the aircraft.
100%.
So act like it.
100%.
I don't want to say fake it till you make it, because that has some hidden things that you shouldn't fake it till you make it. But you are the one that has the actual experience. You've been through it. You've been through the check rides. You've been through the maneuvers. You know what needs to be done. Whether or not you have the confidence in yourself, that can come later.
Right.
But at least be confident in what you've already done.
Right.
So
and so much confidence as a CFI, honestly, comes from, it's the small moments. Here's how I see it. The ultimate amount of confidence as a CFI comes from the small moments where you do something and your student looks at you like you're God, and you sit there and you go,
or when you do something like that's a quick off the whatever little gesture, like, oh, this is how we do DME arcs, twist 10, turn 10. If you look at your CDI and you see that you're 90 degrees, then you're perfectly right where you need to be, and like, whoa, that just blew
their mind.
Like, just what I was just recently when I was doing that instrument guy. That literally exact thing. I told him, I was like, hey, when you're doing an arc, check this out. Look at this. Look, if you're 90 degrees from where you're at, you're perfectly in line with your arc. Right. And he's like, I never saw that. Like that is such a light bulb. But he understood arcs, but they never really were like solid. And then I showed him that and we did one, and he was like, holy crap. Like, that was impressive. Like, that's amazing. You know, little things. I know exactly what you're talking about. The little things like that.
It's the small little moments, and you walk away and you go, and it's not even in a cocky way. It's just like,
well, it's like you can. Sorry to cut you off, but you can, as a CFI, you're not the one that's under the spotlight. You're the one that can kind of remove yourself from the situation and look from a third person view, and be looking on that person and stuff that they don't see. And be like, hey, look at this, or try this next time, or do this, coming from where you're at to where I'm at, this is what helped me, try this,
So true.
For example, I had a student who struggled with landing. What would they do? They would flare way too high. And so I told him, what did I tell him? Something about, it wasn't like look down the runway, because that didn't really help at all. I think it was look to the side, look outside, and look directly below you before you're about to flare. Like if you think you're still high, like I said, I want you, let me grab the controls, I'll take this landing. I want you to just look out and look at the ground. Get an idea of what, in your peripheral, what it kind of looks like coming out the window. And after we did that once or twice, he was kind of like, okay, all right, let me try. And he did a wonderful landing. He came in, he got into that little ground effect, little rotation out, round out, and just screeched it on. And he was like, that's my best landing I've ever had. And I'm like, do you understand like kind of the concept I was trying to teach you? You're not landing a 747. You don't need to flare 30 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
This is a 172. You're not even 5 feet off the ground.
Right.
You're going to kill us if you do that.
Right.
And so just the little things like that,
Yeah.
like are pretty awesome. That somebody that from the outside view, you know, like a CFI, you're sitting in that right seat next to that person and you see kind of what they're going through. You see the struggles, their facial expressions when you ask them to do something and they're like, oh crap, like I don't know. You're like, okay, let's try this. Let's work this.
Right.
And it's like, I know where you're coming from. I can understand where you're at. Like I've been there. Let's try a different avenue to work it out.